Hey Shalom, it's Izzy here with Holy Language Institute at holylanguage.com. I just finished filming a Hebrew verses lesson. We read through the second half of Genesis chapter 43. It's the story of when the brothers go back down to Egypt and then they end up eating with Joseph in his house. And there were several profound things that we covered, like as we just actually read through the chapter word by word. And I wanted to share a big takeaway with you here. I hope it's a blessing to you. So let's have a look here at the text. Listen, there's some Hebrew there. Don't get scared if you haven't seen Hebrew before. It's really nifty. It reads from right to left. So like you're going to be reading and then you read like this way. It's really neat. And I want to show you, you know what? I'm going to show you the English first, and then I'll show you the Hebrew. How about that? Just so you don't get scared. Okay, so look at Genesis chapter 43. I'm going to show you a verse here, and then I'm going to tell you an insight that really tells us about the mission of the Messiah and tells us about God's heart for you and for your family and neighborhood and for all of humanity. All right, so Genesis chapter 43, verse 27. It's talking about Joseph and his brothers. It says, then he, so that's Joseph, asked them, that's his brothers, about their welfare. This is how it reads in the New American Standard Version. And said, is your old father well, of whom you spoke? Is he still alive? They said, your servant our father is well. He is still alive. All right. And then they bow down in homage. And actually, one of the things they pointed out in the lesson is that this custom of, giving someone a little bow, or even just getting right down on your face, it's a sign of respect. It doesn't mean you're worshiping the person. So one of the things that we just talked about in the lesson is how, when sometimes people look at martial arts systems, especially if they're, from the East, and they say, oh, they're giving each other a little bow. It means they're worshiping each other. They're probably going to end up demon possessed, or obviously that's very wrong. Actually, it isn't wrong. That's a biblical custom. That's a custom from the Middle East and also from the Far East. So, anyways, that's one of the things we talked about in our lesson. But that's kind of a side comment I wanted to point out. Here, what I want to look at here is how it says he asked them about their welfare. Now, obviously, he wasn't saying, so you guys are on welfare up there in Canaan. I heard, you're not doing so well, considering you all just like sit around in tents. You don't really have real jobs in Canaan, and so you end up how are the welfare payments going? No, that's not exactly what it's talking about. He's asking like, how are they doing? And in fact, if you look at how this is translated in a couple different versions, let's do that real quick, and then I want to show you the Hebrew, and we're gonna talk about what this means. All right, so this is eSword. eSword's a really powerful tool. I don't know if you have it or if you use it, but if you don't, I definitely recommend it. One of the things I frequently discuss in my Hebrew verses lessons is how to use eSword. Kind of like not just giving you like a Bible fish, but teaching you how to fish for a Bible fish for yourself kind of idea, like showing you how to study, that kind of thing. Anyway, so I have a bunch of my favorite versions and translations up here, and a really powerful feature that eSword has is you can load up your eSword with all your favorite translations, and then you can hit compare, and it'll show you that verse and how it's rendered in different translations. All right, so as you can see here, ESV, he inquired about their welfare. Good News Bible, he asked about their health. That's interesting. Take note of that. JPS and KJV, one is Jewish and one is Christian, both in the Old English. It's kind of cute. They almost always sound exactly the same, unless it's like a controversial verse. Anyways, both of them say he asked them of their welfare. All right. But that's not how we talk in normal English. So you have some of these kind of more normal English translations and you get a better sense. NIV, he asked them how they were. And that's exactly what it means. It's like asking, how are you doing? How are you? It's, it's a very common question in interhuman relations. Okay, now, what I want to point out to you before we look at the Hebrew is Young's literal translation. This is always an interesting one because often it gives you, if there's a Hebrew idiom, it's going to give you, the literal idiom instead of giving you what it means. And he asketh of them of peace. All right, so that's what I want to look at with you in the Hebrew. And then we're going to talk about how this relates to the gospel. It's going to help you to understand the gospel better, amongst other things. All right, so here's the Hebrew, verse 27. Vayishal, and he asked, lahem, so of them, la shalom. He asked about their shalom. All right, now remember, it has that sense of he inquired of their welfare. He asked how they were doing. He asked about their health. And then it says, Vayomer, and they said, Ha shalom. Oh, sorry, and he said, Ha shalom. So here it's actually a question. You can tell because it's ha, which means it's a question mark, in the beginning of the sentence. So how about the shalom avichem, of your father? Is he still alive? All right. So that's what I wanted to point out to you. Now let's actually talk about that for a couple minutes. So in Hebrew, if you want to ask someone how they're doing, you ask about their shalom. You ask about their peace. And as you probably know, shalom is a big word in Hebrew. It means way more than just peace. Like, it has this sense of wholeness. You could see in the Good News Bible there, it translated as health, has the sense of health, and not just physical health, of course, but also, mental and emotional health. It has the sense of like completion or completeness. That's really like the concrete meaning of shalom. And then from there, it has the sense of peace, because if you're in health, if you're doing well, if you're complete, so to speak, and whole as a person, then you're going to be in peace. So that's kind of the idea. Now, this is a really big word in Hebrew, and if you're studying Hebrew, or if you're Jewish, or if you're involved with the Messianic Jewish movement, then sometimes you end up using this word a lot, and it gets like cliched really fast, and you actually don't think about what it means. Because shalom means hi in Hebrew. You see someone, you're like shalom. If you're saying goodbye, you say shalom. Like, it means hello and it means goodbye, so you say it all the time. Similarly, like I just pointed out, if you want to ask someone in Hebrew how they're doing, like in modern Hebrew, if you've taken any modern Hebrew, one of the first things you probably learned is if you want to ask how are you, you say ma shlomcha to a guy, literally, what's your peace? To a girl, you'd say ma shlomech, what's your peace? That's literally what it means. So you're asking about their shalom. And of course, that just means how are you? And if you want to say, shalom in response, it means like I'm doing well. And I just unpacked kind of the fuller sense there. It means like you're complete, so to speak. You're a whole person. You're in health. You're in peace. You're doing well. That's a big word. All right. Now, it's really interesting to see how the word shalom is used in the story of Yeshua and in the writings of his disciples in the New Testament. I'll give you a couple examples here. So, Yeshua sends his disciples out 2 by 2. And what does he tell them to do? He says, when you get to a village or a town or whatever, someone's going to invite you to stay at their place. So stay at their place. And when you come into their house, bless it with what? Bless it with your peace, with shalom. All right. So Yeshua sent his disciples out as agents of shalom. And like I just said, that's a big word. And I think that's very powerful. Like, just to think about just the normal meaning of it. Like, it means you're doing well. Like, God loves humanity and he wants us to be doing well. Like, God loves you and your family and, the people in your neighborhood. Like, he wants you to do well. If someone asks, how are you doing? He wants you to be able to say like from the very depths of your heart, I'm doing well. It's well with my soul. Like the hymn says, maybe you could even say, like, that is God's desire. And that was the mission of the Messiah. Yeshua said to his disciples, as the Father has sent me, I'm sending you. So just like the Mashiach came on a mission of shalom, to bring shalom to the Jewish people, shalom to all of humanity, shalom to the cosmos, similarly, if you're following Yeshua, then you've been sent on that same mission to bring shalom to the world. And of course, that starts with each of us in our individual hearts. And, we experience peace with God, and we experience inner peace. And he changes us from the inside out, and we become those agents of shalom. Similarly, the gospel is referred to as the gospel of peace. So the message of the Messiah is all about peace. It's all about bringing shalom. And what's another example of that in the Gospels? The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, and what? And shalom. So, when we are experiencing the Holy Spirit in our lives, when we're, filled overflowing with the Spirit, and we're living on that level, then we are going to be people of shalom. Another interesting example of this is the priestly blessing. The Birkat Kohanim finishes, and it's interesting in English, because in English we say, and may he give you peace. But in the Hebrew, it literally says, and he will give you peace. And then that's the verb tense that's used to also express like a wish, may he give you peace. So it's not like it's either or in Hebrew, it's both and. It's like, may he give you peace. And yes, he will give you peace. He will give you shalom. And that's very powerful, because that shows us the heart of God, what he wants for us. He wants to give us shalom. And actually, it's interesting in the priestly blessing too. It doesn't just say he'll give you peace. It's the word for like putting something there, putting something down, like placing it there, establishing it. And in fact, that's how it's rendered in at least one traditional Jewish translation. May he establish peace for you. He will establish peace for you. I kind of wonder if, like, the Apostle Paul, he wrote letters to communities of, followers of Yeshua in the first century, out throughout the Greco-Roman world. And do you remember his opening line? Often his famous opening line was, "Grace and peace to you." So in Hebrew that would be chesed and shalom to you from God our Father and our Master Yeshua the Messiah. And I almost wonder too if, like, Paul's little opening line there wasn't an abbreviation of the priestly blessing, because the second of the there are 3 lines in the priestly blessing, and the second line ends with grace and the third line ends with shalom. And the beginning of both the first and the second line have to do with God's face, lifting his face to you, causing his face to shine on you. That kind of thing. Just like the sun is shining on my face right now. In case you're wondering, I like to do these lessons in natural lighting. It's not because, there's like revelation flowing through me and my face is becoming like that of an angel. In case you were wondering, I just don't want you to get too excited. Anyways, so that is a takeaway I have for you from the Hebrew verses lesson that I just did. If you want to watch the whole lesson, it's available on our website, holylanguage.com. in the Hebrew verses section, and it's the second half of Genesis chapter 43. We covered quite a few other really profound insights from the Hebrew text. It was fun just reading the story of Joseph and his brothers, but there were also some very powerful insights. For instance, there's a Hebrew phrase that's used in this story that's only used once in the Torah, but it's also used to describe Messiah and the way he felt about the crowds who came to him. And the way he felt was like the driving force behind the movement that he started, sending his disciples out to bring, physical healing and also inner healing, freedom from demonic oppression and whatnot. And it all started with the way Messiah felt towards people. And this phrase is used in this story about Joseph. It's the only time it's used in the Torah. Anyways, I'm not going to get into all of that, but we covered some awesome stuff, and I hope you come and join me at holylanguage.com and learn more. And, either way, just I pray for you that you will experience God's shalom in your life. And I want to encourage you, if you're not experiencing that shalom, that health, that wholeness, that peace, remember the words of Yeshua, very encouraging. He said, "Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find." God gives to those who ask him. If you're looking for something, he's going to help you find it if it's good stuff. And that is his desire for you, to experience that peace, that shalom in your life. That's what Messiah came. That's what he was all about. And so just don't give up. Keep asking and keep seeking. And if you have experienced that, then I pray that you will be blessed to be an agent for shalom, for the Messiah, and just continue to bring peace, bring shalom to the world around you in all of your interactions with people. All right, thanks for joining me, and look forward to giving you another takeaway in a future little lesson. Shalom.